Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Krono here, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're actually going to be reviewing a video by my good friend Karopi. He made a video called SEGA Never Learns, and from what I understand, it has to do with the reward system for current high-end content. And it's something that I have paid attention to and actually care about quite a lot, contrary to popular belief. But before we jump into that, if you're new here, as always, my name is Krono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate a subscribe as we're going toward that 10K mark, hopefully, by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So I want to go ahead and preface this video with a couple of things here really quick. Just as a disclaimer, he mentions it in the video itself, but this is more of a ranty negative video. So if that's not really your jam, you kind of like to live in the positive, like I know a lot of us do. I mean, the whole point of gaming is to enjoy yourself and kind of have a very, maybe you get enough stress while you're at work, right? Maybe you don't need to hear about all these sort of things while you're looking at gaming and so on and so forth. Not that it's not important. I'm gonna slide over here a little bit. Not that it's not important, but I do totally understand that perspective as being someone who worked a 9 to 5 like that. So if that's not really your jam, toss a like on Karo's video, toss a like on this one. You can go ahead and just move on with your day. It'd be super helpful. Or hey, if you just don't like it, maybe just move on with your day altogether, or even toss it a dislike. That's totally understandable and totally fine. Those thought processes are 100% valid. So I totally get where you're coming from there. But this has to do with the reward system and things of that sort. So it's a bit ranty. Just it's a heads up.
Good morning, everyone.
Also, I haven't seen this yet. I've only been told about it. And I also don't have an actual, this is to be straight up reaction. I have no script, no bullet points, no nothing. So we'll see how this goes.
You guys probably read the title and you're like, oh my goodness, Karo is going to go on another rant.
I rant a lot on stream, by the way.
And that is true. Today is going to be a rant video, so if you guys don't want any negativity, you probably should just skip this video. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about the high difficulty content versus the rewards that you get for completing said content. But before we jump into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video.
Fun fact, Karo's inspiration on how I did my intro. I was trying to find an intro and I was like, yo, that's clean as hell. How do I make this me? So you guys watch both videos, you're like, probably I've heard this before.
Is going to be more of a voiceover, as I do leave footage of Dark Falls Dalian Rank 2 in the background, so you can see the entirety of our clear over here. I believe we clear in like 13 minutes or 13 minutes and 1 second, so it was a pretty dang clear. Good clear.
That's a fast clear.
So Dark Falls Dalian Rank 2, that is the new big bad high difficulty content quest that just released yesterday or the day before, and it is incredibly fun. I do enjoy it. I like what SEGA did with the changes or with the content itself. They added all these different mechanics. Nice. They made the boss fight interesting, and it is incredibly fun. However, I feel like SEGA dropped
Karo's trolling. Karo's trolling
the ball in the sense of rewards and loot, as they always have. I don't really understand why they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. It really seems like they're not learning from their mistakes, and so I felt obligated to make another rant video just to let SEGA know. I don't know if anyone actually watches this from SEGA, but
spoiler alert, they do. People from the team actually watch our videos. Fun fact.
The high difficulty content stuff is definitely fun, but they need to make it worth people's while. Like, why would you run the high difficulty content if it drops the same loot as something that is less difficult? Most people are going to gravitate towards the less difficult stuff and do that because it's going to be more efficient to farm for.
I'm gonna stop here really quick and this isn't a PSO2 thing. This is an MMO thing. Because of the experience. The reality is because the experience overall. In most games, like most, I'm not going to say all, but in most games, the efficient thing to do is never the high difficulty content. The fight has to be fun, has to be interesting to do, has to be something you want to enjoy doing, and the prestige has to be worth it, not the reward. I wish I could tell you that the highest difficulty content is always worth it in that sort of sense, but it usually isn't. And to be fair, technically, this is actually one of the better farms we have currently, depending upon your luck, because of Exilios. They drop, or this content is difficult enough that not everyone can just farm this into oblivion, but it drops often enough that you actually can make quite a bit of money. I think over the course of the last couple of days of helping some people clear, and this is just us doing like first time clears for people, probably made close to about 11, 12 mil off of just selling XLEOs between getting fixes or non fixes and things of that sort. So it is actually making money, but that the whole point is that that's very, very standard in a lot of games. Not that I say it's right, but that is pretty normal, unfortunately.
for better loot or better items or whatever. Because at the end of the day, NGS's progression can be categorized into like two main categories. The first one is gear progression. So, you're farming for augments, you're farming for gear, you're farming for fixes. You're just trying to make your character as strong as possible. And that's one avenue of progression. The second
That is usually the process when it comes to MMOs.
avenue of progression is cosmetics, making your character look exactly how you want it, making them look badass, seeing
You
what
probably should
new
have said the second
cosmetics
one
there
first.
are,
Most
and
people
making new
resonate with that.
looks. That's another source of progression. Well, Sega dropped the ball on both of them. Like, even if they just added, oh, you can farm for special
I would agree with the second one. The cosmetics are absolutely abysmal. That side of things is really sad.
cosmetic items by running Darkfall's Daily in rank 2. Sure, we do have the Wingguard Almaty, so if you do like the Wingguard weapon camo, yes, you can get it there.
Which is trash. Stop releasing regular camos for high-end content. Release CV variants for high-end and regular for normal.
But that's one item out of what? There's like a possibility of like 20 items I can drop there. They should have just added more things or better things for people to farm for. Many of you guys know when I was talking about the NJS headline, I was super excited, I was super hyped because I was expecting a new weapon to drop. Now, I know a lot of people are like, Carol, you're an idiot. There wasn't going to be a new weapon. They never announced a new weapon. They never even hinted at a new weapon. Carol,
I don't think you're an idiot, but I feel like to have that expectation is probably putting yourself in a bad place. Like he probably had a much more negative response to this entire like loot pool because there wasn't a new weapon, because he had that mindset, unfortunately. I wouldn't have thought of a new weapon, honestly. A new weapon would be really weird in this position because then you put players in a perspective against what they just said, which is, hey, everyone, it's totally fine, jump into these XLEO weapons. Like they just mentioned that before this would have released, that it's totally fine to jump into your XLEO weapon. It's totally fine to go ahead and jump into your armor and everything like that, because it's going to have longevity. We're going to release that. There's going to be longevity for those. Now, granted, the timing would have been fine, right? Like they could have released a stronger weapon right now, and then had those upgrade weapons either upgrade to or slightly, like I imagine they'd upgrade to if something, or upgrade to the power of whatever would have dropped from here if something was going to drop from here. But I feel like it would have been an overall negative response because you just told everyone it's totally okay to jump over to that, and then you don't warn them of a new powerful weapon. Like players plan their upgrade paths because based on the information we have, and it's not cheap. Like it's expensive already as it is, and you don't want to make a misstep, because you make that misstep and you're liable not to want to do it ever again. Like players, I've had players before, and this isn't even just PSO2 NGS. This is back in base PSO2, who like spent tens of millions or hundreds of millions on weapons, and then like a week later Sega announces a new weapon coming out, or a week later a patch comes out and a new weapon comes out right then, and like all of the money they just dropped into that just poof, gone, right? Vamoose, it's all over. And in most cases players just don't interact with that system anymore, so it's really bad. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's stupid to think a new weapon would have come out here. I think a new weapon could have fit here, but I also see why one didn't, which unfortunately makes this entire, which is why I'm on the side of cosmetics, because it unfortunately makes this entire fight from a loot perspective feel that much worse.
why did you think there was a new weapon? You're an idiot. Well, it's because when they released the Wingguard series, the Wingguard series came out way before the Exalio series. It came out way before the Iridium series. And the way that I saw it was, hey, we get a super ultra rare item that comes out relatively soon, and then we're all farming for it. But because it's an ultra rare item, it takes time to farm for it. That's why they
Which, by the way, players hate. People have complained about this consistently, that the ultra rare item is super hard to get as a drop, and because of that they really don't like it. Granted, they only complain about that mostly when there's no alternative. That's something that's on point of it, which is why I was like, I could see it working, but at the same time it would be kind of a bad spot to be in, because people were set up for their long-term weapon, And if it's someone who would have just paid for that bigger, more rare weapon or whatever, now they're in a bad spot. It would have made me look bad too, because hey, I just made a video saying you guys can go ahead and do this and it's safe because Sega said it was safe. So your boy lucked out there, +1. But yeah, no, I get it.
Release it usually a month before they release like the normal weapons. And we know that in October, there's going to be the Exalia weapon upgrade path or evolution path or whatever, right? So we know that, oh, when October rolls around, everyone is going to be able to upgrade their Exalia weapon. Everyone's going to be able to upgrade their Ecstasis armors. So shouldn't they release the ultra rare stuff this month so that the tryhards have something to farm for?
That's assuming that's going to be part of the progression moving forward. They haven't outright said it, but the way they've been talking about it and the way they've mentioned the old upgrade system, they mentioned even specifically that it's moving from being a thing that it's on Exalios in the item upgrade system. They mentioned specifically that it's actually going to be moving to an NPC, which immediately everyone just said Zig's coming back, transfers are coming back, all that's coming back again. So like, yes, but there's also this is why I kind of like leave myself. There's always a possibility of something changing.
Basically my trade of thought. Now, obviously, this is not what happened. And
This is
so,
for the record, understandable train of thought. If we go based on what we've had dealt with beforehand, and Sega and the NGS team have been extraordinarily predictable for a long period of time, that makes perfect sense. However, what we're starting to find out more and more and more as things are changing is they're becoming less and less predictable, meaning we're having to make more and more assumptions and have to be a bit more safe.
Originally, when I watched the NGS headline, I was like, all right, this is fine, no problem, because all I'm going to do this month is I'm going to be farming for that stupid ultra rare weapon that probably will never drop, but at least there is that glimmer of hope, there is that goal that I'm farming for,
The carrot to chase.
However, unfortunately, that did not happen, and so what's happening to me this month is I'm in a very awkward situation of, hey, I want to stream this game every single day. I want to play the game every single day, but there's nothing for me to really do. The only piece of content that I can do right now is just farm for Meseta. And, at the end of the day, I know everyone's going to be like, Caro, you're min-max, you're best in slot. Of course you can only farm for Meseta. The average player doesn't play as much as you. Everyone else is normal. They have stuff to farm for. They have stuff to upgrade, blah, blah, blah. And, I can't really argue with you guys there. Yes.
all those things, like, all those things are valid. Yes, that is very true. And technically, I don't even think Caro is BIS. He's very close to BIS. He's really, really strong right now. But well, no. Now that I think about it, yeah, no, I think he's. Oh, that's right. No, we found out that actually is better. So yeah, no, I think he's basically BIS once you fix the weapon.
This is a me problem. All right, this is definitely a me problem. I play the game too much, and I've hit everything that I needed.
Which is. Okay, so I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant as well. Apologies. This video is gonna be long, by the way. I didn't mention it in the intro, but if you guys just want to watch Caro talk about this, I'm gonna leave the video linked in the video description. Go watch his version. It's not gonna be paused. You guys can just listen to it and then have your own thoughts and so on and so forth. But like this is a problem, unfortunately, with MMOs in general, and I hate it, man. I absolutely despise it. Is MMOs are not made to be played all of the time 24/7 anymore. When you do, you run out of things to do. And this is everything. There are some games that have existed for so long that, and they've been very smart about this, that they have their older content to fall back on whenever the new content is finished, right? Like, if you're curious, go take a look at Final Fantasy 14 streamers after the current Savage tier is over. Go take a look at World of Warcraft streamers after the current the raid cycle is over, right? After they're done, what are they doing? A lot of times they're doing their weekly gearing. That's pretty normal. But then they're going back and doing older stuff. They're doing completionist stuff. They're doing achievement based stuff. They're leveling up other classes. They're working on professions and things of that sort. Maybe they're going back and doing certain challenges, right? Like in Final Fantasy 14, you could be doing what is it, Palace of the Dead and other solo based content. Like there's time to do that sort of stuff at that time, where that's not new. That's been around for a long period of time, but they fall back on those things as being streamers of those games because that's something that they have to do. But if you don't design your MMO in that sort of way, or you don't design your live service in that sort of way, then like players are going to burst through this. Like someone who plays the game every day like I do, plays the game every day like Kara does, and things of that sort. Like we're going to be done. Like the whole point is for us to get there as soon as possible and to talk about it for you guys and to explain to you guys and see how important it is and how much like for there is for you to do and things like that. Like that's going to happen consistently. And I found that out a long time ago. I found that out when I was doing that back in 14 before I jumped into PSO2 like this. So I've had this mindset for a long time. So whenever I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm done with this, if there's not something for me to go back and do, that's when I start to pivot and deviate and do other things. And that has hurt me a lot in the long run on what I do, but it has helped me mentally be able to enjoy games that I really like.
Fix a 5 to all my armors, fully augmented, 288% potency. Like, there's literally...
And when I say, like, he's not fully BIS and could be stronger, I'm 290. And I think Slayer strongest is 295. I think 288 is the strongest you would be if you're using potency floor properly. So, yeah, he's Karo's buff, by the way.
Nothing else that I can upgrade that will give me any significant gains. So yeah, this is basically just me ranting about how I wish that the super high difficulty content dropped something else that was useful for the end game players, just to entice people to actually farm said content. I understand that it is fun. I've already stated that it is fun. I like running Darkfall's Dalian rank 2.
And I hate to tell you this, but that is the most important thing. I know everyone is always asking, is it worth? Is this worth? Is this worth? If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's never worth. It doesn't matter how much you get from it. There are so many things you can do right now that's going to get you so much value. I tell people all the time, and people say, oh, how do I make money? How do I get this? How do I do that? I want to afford this fashion. I want to get this fashion. I'm like, yeah, go do this for hours on end. And like, that sucks. I don't want to do that. Exactly. That's why it's worth your time, because other people also won't want to do it. But the unfortunate most important thing when it comes to these fights, and it's not just PSO2, it's a lot of things, is that a lot of these things, they're super difficult and they're fun. What needs to be worth, and I don't know if he's going to get around to it. I'm going to say it right now, though. The prestige. Completing the content, the prestige of completing the content, a really cool title, an interesting camo that has like, that shows off what you're doing. And it's like, yo, that guy cleared the fight, dude. That seems awesome. That looks sick. I want to get to that point. I want to clear that fight too. That way I can get that really cool looking thing. That's what's important from there. At the end of the day, it's never going to be worth it from a rewards perspective. I wish it was, and I wish it would be. To be honest, there's only one time I think I've ever seen that happen. And it was with content that we couldn't play consistently. It was with content that would come around every once in a while. For those guys who played base PSO2, it was what was it called? HTPD, Hatred True Profound Darkness. That was the only time where difficulty and reward actually kind of matched up, because that was one of the hardest quests in the entire game. However, you can only run it whenever it popped up as an urgent. You only had 30 minutes to run it. You only got one clear, so you only got one set worth of loot. And what kept it worth was the camos that would drop from there sold for a massive amount of meseta. You made a lot of money if you were able to clear that fight, purely based on the fact that you could sell all of the camos. And the market wasn't super overly saturated because it was a super hard fight. Not everyone was geared for it, and not everyone got those drops when they cleared it. So when I say super hard from an average perspective of players, I don't think it was that hard of a fight. I think it was more the difficult side of things, but I also played the game until my eyes bled, basically. So my perspective is different than other people, but that was the one time that was available. And that's the trade-off, right? Like something that is farmable consistently, or something that you can do every once in a while when it pops up. And I'll be honest, I'd rather be able to do the fight whenever I wanted to. One of my favorite things about this fight has been the being able to do the cross ship and being able to take as many people through as possible, getting their first clears, giving people a chance to actually get a chance to fight, do the boss. Like we had someone yesterday that was like, hey, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to do this fight. Like, I don't know. I watched a guide and I've checked it out, but like, I don't feel confident in doing it. I'm like, yo, if you want to give it a shot, let's do it. Let's do it right here, right now. And we cleared it in 2 runs. Now, that's something to speak of the difficulty, right? But there's also the side of things that like, hey, this is a high difficulty fight for people and they're getting into it. And that's the fun part of this fight. Like the fight itself, like I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't enjoy this fight. If it was like a chore every time I did it, I wouldn't do it, right? But that's part of this entire process. And unfortunately, like cosmetics and prestige is the best way to do rewards nowadays when it comes to these types of fights. It just flat out is. Anything else either is going to be farmed into oblivion, so it's completely useless, and it's going to favor the high-end player base, which in a lot of these games is only like 20%. Like realistically speaking, 20% roughly. Most people are just casual and enjoying themselves in games like PSO2 and Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft, hell, even in BDO and other MMOs like that. Like people are mostly just casual. They're not pushing themselves insanely high, trying to do the hardest stuff, get the strongest gear all the time. So to keep the lights on, you have to keep 80% of the player base happy. That's kind of how you do it. And if you lock all of the best stuff behind the hardest stuff and you only care about the top end of your guild or top end of your player base, well, a lot of people that aren't at that point, they're not going to feel good. They're like, hey, I can't really make this money. I can't afford this gear because I can't farm the stuff that you guys do. I'm just not that good, or I haven't put that much time in, or whatever it happens to be. And as someone who does do that stuff, I hate it. Like, if we're looking at it from my perspective of like what I want for me, I want all of the best stuff to come from the hardest content. That way no one else can get it. I can get it and make tons of money, and I'll be able to afford all the stuff I want to get. And then I can carry as many people as possible to the fights, and everyone enjoys it, and we can just have a good time. You guys can make money, we can make money, and just blast through stuff and have a blast. But I don't think that's good for the overall health of the game in the slightest. I think that's exactly why you have things like Final Fantasy XIV's Ultimates that come with a title and a shiny weapon that technically is better than like the other weapons during that tier, but it's like by such a minuscule amount, it's insane. Like it's by like points of a percentage, it makes no difference. And it requires the most insane amount of work to be able to even get it. So it's mostly just prestige of clearing the fight itself. I can't speak to the reward system in WoW. I haven't played it in a while, and to be perfectly honest, I hear negative things about it all the time. And BDO is high end of BDO is high end of BDO. Let's not even go that route. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what you're looking for. Like that's the big thing is that, and I know you guys who played MMOs have thought about this too. Like have seen this, like, yo, that weapon looks so sick, dude. Where'd you get that? That glow is awesome. Like those are the things that I want to see more of, right? And this video is 20 minutes and the carrot 6 minutes. This is what I'm talking about.
They don't give me a reason to continue to farm it. So like when it first released on day one, I think it took us 6 attempts in order to get the clear. I know it's relatively slow. I know other people have probably cleared it in like 2 attempts, but listen, we cleared it and we learned the fight. And then as you can see in the B-roll right now, this is my second, this is the run literally right after we got our clear, and it's flawless because I learned from my mistakes and we optimized and we were able to clear it much faster now because we actually know how to do the fight. And it just really sucks.
This party is also pretty stacked. I'm looking at the party. They're all very stacked.
New, fun content, but they absolutely fumbled the loot and the rewards. So people are like, yeah, it's a fun fight, but maybe if I just do it like once a day, and that's great, but there's no reason for me to spam it over and over and over. Like, remember when they added the Flugelguard weapon series behind freaking mining rig defense because they accidentally released it early? And we spammed the living daylights out of mining rig defense. Do I like mining rig defense? No,
that's a problem. That's the thing, is it wasn't fun. It sucked.
Hated mining rig defense. And you guys saw in the video, I did what, like 300 runs of mining rig defense, and I was literally losing my sanity and like hating myself for it.
This is not a good thing.
But there was that shining star that I was chasing. There was that Flugelguard weapon that I wanted. And so we bit the bullet and we farmed for it. I felt like, you know, SEGA should probably take a page out of that and be like, oh wow, people will do content if there's something that they can chase for, if there's a super rare item, or if there's something in order to become best in slot. Like, yes, this isn't content for the average player. For like 80%, 90% of the population probably don't even care about Darkfall's Dalian's rank 2, and they're just like, listen, Caro, you are an outlier, stop complaining, shut up, and just wait for them to release you know, all the new stuff next month. Just
so this is something I kind of wanted to touch on, because this is something that does happen a lot, unfortunately. No, players should provide their feedback based on how they feel, regardless of being an outlier or not. What's important to the dev team is that they know about these things happening. That way they can adjust these situations, right? And adjust them accordingly. Because it's not that you just pay attention to 80% of your player base. You mostly develop for 80% of your player base, but you don't ignore the other 20%. When you ignore the other 20% is when things look really, really bad. It's when situations like, you know, high-end players quitting and then telling everyone that, I'm one of the best and I quit because they're just ignoring us. Like, other players take that to heart and they're like, yo, if this guy that I like, that I was looking up to, quit as well, and he's like, this isn't worth all the effort I'm putting in, why would I do that? It's a cascading effect that's really, really bad. So no, you don't just say shut up and look the other direction. Like, yes, you mostly develop for that bigger portion of your player base, but the trick is, and this is something it's a very difficult thing to do in MMOs, you develop for the majority, but you do not ignore the minority. You make sure the minority is heard just enough that they have those little pieces of content, right? Like stuff like this should be what's developed for the minority, right? Like this is like a super high difficult piece of content that honestly, like all these fights should like force sync you or something like that, so they stay difficult the entire time. You can't just overwrite them. It's something that Final Fantasy 14 does, and they don't do it perfectly, right? Granted, over time the older fights become easier because they're newer classes with new power balancing and things of that sort, but like with ultimate fights, it's something that's very normal. And even the developer or the series producer Yoshi P mentioned, he's like, hey, these fights are hard, we're not going to retune them. Like, we're not making them any easier. They're going to remain harder. We're going to try to keep them as hard as long as possible. Players now, of course, are calling for them to retune them to make them harder again, because now they become too easy. but that's besides the point. But no, you don't want to just ignore your player base. That's super, super bad.
Just take it easy, play a different game this month or something. And, you know, I get it. I get it.
I would say play a different game this month.
Again, I told you guys earlier, I warned you guys that this would be a rant video, and it sort of is a complaining rant video. But man, it just sucks. All right, like I want to play this game, I want to stream more,
and that's the valid portion. It sucks. It's okay to say that this specific situation for me in these circumstances suck. That is a valid opinion to have.
NGS. It's just super difficult for me right now to find a purpose and something or a goal that I want to achieve in NGS. It's like, yes, we've upgraded all our armors, we upgraded all our weapons. The only thing that I could possibly do right now is, oh, maybe we should farm a ton of Darkfall's Dalian rank 2 in order to get a fix of 5 Exalia weapon, so that when October rolls around, I can upgrade that Exalia weapon into another best in slot and use that weapon as a stepping stone until I get the new ultra rare weapon. Like, that's pretty much the only
assuming there's going to be one
I can think of that seems plausible. But even then, the amount of work I have to put into that, it's very debatable on whether it's worth it or not, or I should just take the reasonable route and the logical route and just be like, maybe I shouldn't play that much NGS this month, and maybe I should just take it easy and play other games. You know, we've been playing a lot of the First Descendant on stream. A lot of people seem to like that. I still need to do Wuthering Waves. We did finally finish the main storyline, but we do need to do Chang'Li's side story and all the character side stories, so we got to do that and explore the map. Like, I haven't unlocked a lot of the map. Then of course we have Ghost of Tsushima. I'm really loving Ghost of Tsushima. I want to stream that game because I'm addicted to that game. I really like Ghost of Tsushima.
Rip Flawless, by the way.
So I mean, you know, logically speaking, now that I'm actually processing it while talking to you guys in this video, it does make a lot of sense that I should probably just take a step back from NGS this month and be like, listen, Caro, this rant video is just me processing my thoughts so that I know what to do this month. And I should really just take it easy this month and chill out on NGS. And maybe just, you know, we've got the limited time quest coming out. We've got the Ordinal Tower coming out the week after. We could probably just see how that goes. And who knows? Maybe the LTQ is really fun. Maybe it does drop a punch of like Gigas Mass Days or like, you know, some other high-end capsules that might be worth farming for. And then we can just spam that back to back to back in order to just get a lot of capsules. Even though technically that's also generating Meseta. But yeah, that's pretty much my thought process right now of like what I'm thinking, what I'm going through for this month, because I'm really struggling to find stuff to do this month. You know, when I realized that there's no new weapon, I was like, man, are we really just gonna start drinking margaritas until next month? You know, I don't even have a margarita at home, but
go get a margarita.
You know, basically, I was pretty lost. But nevertheless, thank you guys for listening to my thought process, letting me kind of rant and vent a little bit while organizing my thoughts. And I think we've come to a conclusion.
I'm gonna DM him right now. Hold on. Mid video, cut to DM Kara. I gotta make sure that our DMs are good. I can't leak the DMs, boys. Where is it? Okay, we're good. He probably showed you guys this on stream anyway, so it doesn't matter. If he didn't, sorry, Kara. I'm showing them now. Yes, sir. Go buy or go get margaritas. You guys can see that I can't spell for anything. All right, cool. Awesome. Okay, back to the video.
I think the conclusion is take it easy on NGS, play other games, and yeah, I think that's probably the solution. So we'll probably still continue with our like 1 to 1.5 hour stream of NGS, and then we'll switch over to another game on the live streams, and that way I don't force myself to do something that I don't like doing, because that's just not sustainable, you know. I've tried that before, guys. I've tried forcing myself to play a game over and over or for long periods of time, and that just results into burnout. So that's pretty much my thought process, guys.
That's how you quit if you want to quit.
All the members for supporting the channel. It really means
that
a lot
is
to me.
exactly how to quit a video game if you're looking to quit, is force yourself to play when you don't want to play. But yeah, no, that's a lot of really great takes and very important information, I feel like, in this video. And it boils down to a very simple conclusion that, to be perfectly honest, MMOs are not built to be played consistently anymore these days. You have to have a very solid foundation and years upon years upon years of content built up over time that is essentially super long and tedious, or super long and grindy by default, for players to come back to in moments like this. That's why things like Final Fantasy do well during their downtime, is because players fall back on that type of content. In most cases, a lot of times, when you're looking to develop a game and you want players to log in every single day, what ends to happen is you start to develop FOMO consistently about what's going on, whether it's power that you're generating over time, whether it is gate or time gating content and things of that sort. You just over time develop an unhealthy relationship with the game, an unhealthy relationship with your player base. So much like Caro, I'm doing very much the same thing. We stream as well, and we play about an hour to 2 hours, sometimes 3 of NGS, and then we pivot onto something else. Recently, it's been Black Desert. We are going to talk about, probably in tomorrow's video, about the type of content we're going to be covering for the second channel, because I do need to start getting that taken care of. So you guys are going to start seeing more story-based stuff. I do want to play Gundam Breakers and a bunch of other games that I want to play through, and I don't think will fit on this channel, will fit on like my everything else channel. So we'll probably be putting that stuff over there. But yeah, that's something to say that, hey, look, I totally understand where people are upset and they're looking for a reason to farm and things of that sort. But reality, the healthy thing to do is to not force that. I realistically think, like 100% believe that that Sega is looking to transition their gearing process into something similar to the Exilios and building them up. There will likely be a chase weapon, but I don't think that chase weapon is going to exist right beforehand. I think it's going to exist like right around the same time frame to allow the player to make that decision, which I think might be a bit of a mistake. I think it's better to have it come out a little bit beforehand than versus a little bit after. But it's one of those situations where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If they release it beforehand, well, then you tell players, hey, look, go for that chase weapon. Don't go for this freebie weapon. This is the welfare weapon, the weapon that you go for if you don't want to deal with that, which some people are fine with, but other people feel pretty bad about. But if you do afterwards, then you're like, hey, look, build this weapon up to be best in slot for a little while and then switch over, which creates the mindset of players telling you, hey, don't build what the easy thing is. They're likely going to release something else later on down the line that you're going to want to build or go for anyway. And that's really what you're going after. And then we have a whole nother situation with our units again, where people are waiting on the next unit to come out instead of building the unit that's currently there. And then, they wait too long, and it gets to be a bad situation. So, we'll have to see what they decide to go with overall. I am in the camp of, hey, build what you do what's fun now. Don't worry about the rest later. However, one thing I can say that Carol and I 100% agree on is that they horrifically fumbled the ball from the cosmetic perspective. There is no reason why the Wingguard camo is in that and not the Wingguard camo CV. There's no reason why there aren't other variants of like dashes and jumps and glides. They quite literally have so many to work from where they can just change a color and it would be fine. Things that are related to the boss itself, maybe a cosmetics, a bracelet, a ring, anything really, that would be fantastic to be able to farm to show off your feeling. Now, granted, in a perfect world, I would say like a super rare camo for completing the fight being super difficult or whatever, and you have that camo, that way you can, use it and show it off and be like, hey, look, I cleared the fight, that's how I got this. Maybe make it a title reward so it's not sellable, that way players actually have some prestige in that, and then, like, of course, give them a really cool title. But for clearing the fight, we got 5-star gems and a really kind of lame title, and that does not feel good. You're basically, the most you're going for is 30 clears, and that's about it. Also, before we outro this video, I just want to show you guys, lol, okay, after seeing this video, I like the DMs, I'm sorry, friend. So that's all I got for you guys today. As always, like if you enjoyed the video, dislike if you didn't. I realized exactly what I did, like a complete idiot. Holy crap, hold on. We're leaving this in, by the way. There you go. There's the leaked DM. I just clicked on it on my screen and didn't show you guys in the slightest, I'm sorry. But if you guys like the video, like it. If you dislike it, there's a button for that as well. If you think the content's great, I'd much appreciate a subscribe. We're working our way towards a high number, the highest number we possibly can at the very least. Channel members are fantastic. Love your faces. Appreciate every single one of you guys. And today's question of the day is a pretty simple one. I've asked it beforehand. I'm going to ask it again. When you start to feel the burnout, when you start to feel the overall, there's not much else to do, what's the game that you pivot to immediately? And if you don't feel it, what type of content do you pivot to in the game you're currently playing? I know there are a lot of people that do play games like this, and they're like, hey, man, when I start to feel the point where I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do this anymore, this is when I start, going into my creative space. Or I start working on, achievements, or I start working on, little things like that. People do play like that, and that's totally understandable. So I'm curious, what is that you do to avoid that sort of feeling? Anyway, this video has been super long, and I appreciate you guys for watching all the way to the end. Take care, my friends. Peace out.